With rumours approaching that the Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen is set to be announced in the coming days, we thought it would be apt to discuss why Sergio Perez deserves to be in that seat next year. Following his shock maiden F1 win in Bahrain, Red Bull can simply no longer ignore Sergio Perez as an option for the 2021 seat. The Sakhir Grand Prix was the clearest, most overwhelming piece of evidence yet for why Red Bull should sign Sergio. Perez has already demonstrated his abilities throughout an incredibly impressive 2020 campaign for Racing Point. Even had he not claimed a sensational maiden Grand Prix win in Bahrain, he would still more than deserve a place on the grid for next year. The Mexican racked up an incredible 125 points to sit fourth in the championship, and remarkably, that is despite missing both Silverstone rounds when he contracted coronavirus. Perez's form has been sublime across the last 8 races in particular. He has picked up 4 top 5 finishes, including a brilliant second place in Turkey. Perez was on course to make it back-to-back podiums until a cruel late engine failure robbed him, as it did in Abu Dhabi for the last race of the season. And Perez's last to first performance in the Sakhir GP acted as further reinforcement as to why his lack of presence on the grid next year is an unfathomable prospect. F1's king of the midfield has once again proved that if a team wants a competitive driver to maximise every opportunity, there are few better options out there. That is exactly why Red Bull can no longer competitively justify retaining the struggling Alex Albon over Perez as it continues to weigh up its options for 2021. Albon has endured a difficult first full campaign at Red Bull and faced intensifying speculation regarding his future, having been comprehensively outperformed by teammate Max Verstappen. The Sakhir GP was a perfect reflection of Albon's 2020 season in a nutshell. After seemingly making a positive step forward with a fortuitous podium last time out, Albon took 2 steps back again in the second race to be held in Bahrain. Although he finished with a strong 4th in Abu Dhabi, is it really enough? In regards to Sakhir, where Perez reigned supreme, Albon was knocked out in Q2 as he only qualified 12th, before going to finish a drab and disappointing 6th place. In a race where Verstappen was eliminated on the opening lap and the usually flawless Mercedes made a pit lane blunder, the second Red Bull car really should have been winning. It was a performance that was simply not good enough, and sadly, that has been the case too many times this season. Given what Perez was able to achieve at the Sakhir GP, it would be hard to imagine Red Bull's hierarchy to not seriously be considering a move for the out-of-contract Perez, if they weren't already. It has now become a no-brainer decision. Perez ticks all of the boxes Red Bull is looking for in a driver to back up Verstappen. Quick enough and consistent enough to produce the goods and pick up the pieces in Verstappen's absence, while not providing a big enough threat to regularly beat the Dutchman. He would have undoubtedly managed better results than Albon has this year alongside Verstappen. While Red Bull remains Perez's only option to stay on the grid next year, the incumbent Racing Point star said his victory in Bahrain gives him a bit more peace with himself, knowing that whatever happens is ultimately out of his hands. Although he has indicated that he has some options already on the table for 2022, Perez admitted he feels it is a sad reflection of the current state of F1 if someone like him is unable to find a seat. I'm at peace with myself. I think Esteban Ocon has mentioned that drivers like him missing out on seats. It's just the way Formula 1 is. It can be really tough and not the best drivers are in Formula 1 unfortunately. So we keep pushing and we keep delivering, and I think that's the best way to do it. Perez was joined on the Sakhir podium by Renault's Esteban Ocon, who scored an emotional and redemptive first podium of his F1 career with a brilliant drive to second. Ocon knows all too well what it is like to unfairly lose his place at Racing Point, having been dropped at the end of 2018 for Lance Stroll following his father Lawrence Stroll's takeover of the Silverstone outfit, leaving the 24-year-old Frenchman facing a year on the sidelines of the sport. 2 years on and history has repeated itself, only this time it is Perez on the receiving end of an unceremonious booting, losing his seat to 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel, who is joining Racing Point ahead of its rebrand to Aston Martin for 2021. Even Racing Point bosses Stroll and Otmar Szafnauer, perhaps with a slight sense of regret over their driver lineup decision, were quick to point out that Perez deserves a seat on the grid for 2021. If things do not work out, then Perez can bow out of F1, even if it is just for a sabbatical year, with his head held high and proud of his accomplished career to date. But it's a position he shouldn't have found himself in the first place. For a driver so often in the right place at the right time, it would be fitting for the stars to align for Perez for 2021, with a deserved return to the sharp end of the grid. So who do you think Red Bull will choose? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Crash F1.